Time to meet the candidate. I'm Chris Clark, President and CEO of the Queen Creek Chamber of Commerce. Today, we're joined by Maricopa County Supervisor Jack Sellers. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Jack, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Jack Sellers. I'm currently the District 1 Maricopa County Supervisor. In a previous life, and also Vice Chair of the Board of the County Supervisors this year. In a previous life, I was the Facilities Manager at the General Motors Desert Proving Ground, so Queen Creek is almost like a second home because of that, because the old Proving Ground was just right down the street from here. I served a couple of terms on the Chandler City Council. During my second term, my wife developed terminal cancer, and she basically said, I'm not going to be here. You need to continue to make a difference in the community. And so that's what I'm doing now, is trying to live up to her expectations.
Wow. Well, we certainly appreciate it, and thank you for your years of service. Tell us a little bit about being on the board of the Maricopa County Supervisors. What is it that you see on a day-to-day basis, and what's your area that you work in?
Well, I'm in my second year now on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, and I guess I was so happy when I got appointed to this board because, as you well know, I served a couple of terms on the Chandler City Council, including a couple of terms as Vice Mayor there. I just finished a 6-year term on the State Transportation Board, my final year as Chair, and with all the contacts and goodwill I developed in those positions, I was concerned that when I finished my term on the State Transportation Board that I wouldn't have a platform for doing what I think is really critical for us in the coming couple of years, and that is getting an extension to Prop 400, our infrastructure funding mechanism here in Maricopa County. I was so happy also that I served a couple of terms on the Chandler City Council because I assumed that going into the Board of Supervisors were going to be very, very similar. And in a lot of respects it is. I mean, the budgeting process is something that I've been trained well for, with the exception that the supervisors are responsible for the entire county budget, but we have no say over the other elected officials' departments. So we're responsible for their budgets, but we really can't tell them how to run their operation. So that makes the budgeting process pretty interesting. But, and the other probably major differences between the city council job and the county supervisor job is we run the medical center for the entire region. So with what's been going on with this pandemic, it really has stressed all of our departments because we are the lead authority on that for Maricopa County. Excuse me. And the other thing that we're responsible for that's very different from being at a town or a city is that we're also responsible for the jail. And all of the cities and towns in Maricopa County use our jail system. One of the things that we brought online after I came onto the board was the intake transfer release facility, which is a significant improvement in efficiency for this whole process. But unfortunately, with this pandemic going on, the move into that facility has been delayed some, so we haven't been able to recognize all of those efficiencies yet. But I'm still very anxious to see how that's going to improve the process so that an arresting officer in one of these towns or cities takes someone in, they have to see a judge before the officer can be released. And sometimes that would take hours before that would happen. In the new facility, there will be medical staff there, and there will be court facilities right in the facility, so that now this should be done in minutes rather than hours, and allow the officers to get back on their beat. And that'll become even more important to Queen Creek when you are having your own officers. which I know you're working on now. But so it's really been an interesting transition, but I really feel like it's the right thing for me to be doing right now. It's a perfect job for me.
You mentioned Prop 400. Tell folks a little bit more about that and what the concern is.
Okay, Prop 400 is basically the half-cent sales tax that provides the capital for new projects for for Maricopa County and some of the extended region of Maricopa County. And it expires now in a couple of years. So it's really critical that we get a new plan in place that we can send out to the voters and ask to have this extended. You know, a major frustration for all of us right now is that with the half-cent sales tax that we've been using, and of course we went through a significant recession, so some of those projects got delayed, but we've really done a very good job in the way we've used the money that we had in that. But a frustration for us really involved in infrastructure is that the state really has not even had enough money to do maintenance. And so as you drive, you know, even on what I consider to be a relatively new freeway, the Santan Freeway, you see areas where maintenance is lacking, and it's because of this lack of funds at the state level. So we really need to address that at the same time as we do Prop 400. And so that's really what a lot of my focus is. You know, my primary focus on the council and still on the Board of Supervisors is bringing quality jobs into our region so that we can maintain the quality of life, have the kind of support we need to maintain the quality of life that causes the rest of us to want to live here. And to do that, we need to have infrastructure, and we need to have a good education system. And those of us involved in infrastructure know that you can't have a 2 or a 3 or a 4 year plan. Infrastructure planning takes a longer time than that. And the way the state is structured right now is you can't do planning beyond your forecast means to satisfy what you're planning for. And so it's really critical that we get a long-term funding mechanism put into place, and also for the state to start looking at what do we need to do to address the maintenance issues that we have statewide. And we all know, you know, one of the things I'm really proud of, even while I was serving on the Chandler City Council, is that I was called the regional council member. Because as you well know, I knew that bringing jobs into our region helped all of us. So if it looked like we could bring jobs into Queen Creek or into Tempe or into Mesa or into Chandler or Gilbert, it didn't matter to me as long as we were bringing jobs into our region to help all of us. And so that still is really my focus. But again, to do that, we really need to have a plan, because unless we can maintain the lifestyle that causes us to want to be here and causes companies to want to move here, we're not going to be able to sustain being the fastest growing county in the United States for the last 3 years and probably now for 4 years. So we've got some work to do, and I'm excited and anxious to do it.
I bet. So on the Prop 400 issue, so the county is building the roads, the state's required to maintain them.
Yes.
You mentioned us being the fastest growing. Do you have any indications how things are going right now? I don't necessarily mean the slowdown from the pandemic, but it seemed like California was really picking up steam. It seemed like we were really picking up some things from Oregon as well. Do you see a lot more jobs and opportunities here?
Oh, you know, from our perspective and from a building permits perspective, we're not seeing any slowdown right now. We're seeing a lot of jobs come into this area. And, you know, one of the things that I've really been focused on with the infrastructure issue is using technology to make our infrastructure as smart as possible and to use the technology that's going to be in vehicles to help reduce congestion and improve safety. But the thing that I think that we really still need to emphasize to people is that for jobs to be here, we have to have infrastructure to move commerce. And particularly when I look at something like Gateway Airport with the Skybridge project, I think that's going to be a game changer for this whole area. And I'm not sure that anybody, or I shouldn't say not anybody because there's some of us, but there are not enough people really focused on what do we need for infrastructure around that to support what's going to happen there in the future.
Well, one of the keys will, of course, be the 24. And so we're certainly anxious to get that going. Some of the money has been fronted. Mesa has advanced some. I believe the county has advanced some. And hopefully we'll be able to get that started here soon.
Oh yeah, and in fact that is in the current plan. The extension to, I've forgotten the road.
Ironwood?
Ironwood, thank you. That's in the plan right now, so it's in the process. So that funding is solid, and that's going to be a significant help, particularly for Queen Creek and the Gateway Airport area, because we have significant congestion right now, not just from our own area growing the way it is, but from people coming from Pinal County, and of course, Queen Creek covers some of Pinal County, but we have a lot of traffic coming from Pinal County going into jobs in Maricopa County. And so as you well know, we've got a huge congestion issue right now, and getting that extension of State Route 24 is going to help alleviate some of that, but we still have more work to do.
You mentioned quality of life issues. Are there some things in particular that you are working on?
Well, and again, you know, the using smart technology to make us into a smart region is more than just infrastructure. It means that we need to have internet availability in all of our school systems, and one of the other things that I'll mention about, you know, having a regional focus is, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is that the average person doesn't know when they go from Queen Creek into Chandler or Mesa, or from Chandler into Tempe or whatever. They just know where they need to go, and that they expect the infrastructure to be there to support that. And part of our technology says that with the intelligence that we're putting in vehicles, we need to have that technology available to be able to help those vehicles now to be safer and more efficient. So again, we have some challenging times ahead of us, but I think there are a lot of people that are really focused on what we need to be doing to get there. I know that Supervisor Bill Gates and I are both very involved in work on the smart region, things that are going on at ASU and you know, with other consultants in this area. And becoming a smart region doesn't mean that you need to buy a bunch of software or have the hardware to be able to run it. You need to have people who know what it means to use this and to move it forward.
Well, it certainly sounds promising for our future, and we appreciate you taking the time to be here with us and tell us about these things. Is there something you'd like to
Well,
tell us
I think just kind of a follow-up on your question about lifestyle is that, you know, one of the things that's important to me is to stay in touch with all of my communities so that I understand what their lifestyle expectations are. And, you know, for an area like Queen Creek that wants to be able to maintain your rural areas and keep that rural feel to your community, I understand that. And, you know, I won't do anything on a county island or anything at the county without talking to the community that it impacts. So again, I think that that's one of the significant lifestyle issues that we're dealing with. And you know, my main focus, whether it be on my time that I served on the council or now on the Board of Supervisors, is recognizing that what I'm doing isn't about me. It's about representing you and understanding your needs and your community's needs and doing everything I can to try to help get those accomplished.
Well, we certainly appreciate that, and we appreciate the time you've taken to be here with us. Again, County Supervisor Jack Sellers, thank you for being here.